Hello, my little world builders, and welcome back to more Inkarnate. What we're going to be doing today is I'm going to be adding more to the forest. Like I said previously, I'm not a big fan of like all the green. I don't know. It feels like there's not enough depth to it, not enough color. So I'll be adding some like more fall colors to it to make it look nice. Also, because I don't know what to talk about during these videos, I grabbed a few articles or posts to ask dungeon masters questions that players that need help or other dungeon masters that need help. So let me find one. Let me read it off to you, and then I'll give you like my opinion on the advice on it. All right, a theoretical scenario. The party fights a powerful monster. After a while of fighting, both are pretty low. The wizard says he wants to get the kill, attacks, and misses. Then the fighter attacks, kills the monster. What should I do if the wizard got mad at the rest of the party because of that and casted Fireball at the weakened party, killing them all? Well, from the sounds of it, it doesn't sound that theoretical. It sounds like it actually happened. What would I do in this situation? One, I'd make sure that he wasn't, joking, because I've had party members that got mad that someone stole their kill and threatened to blow everyone up. I've actually had wizards that accidentally blown up their party members, which is hilarious when it happens. Honestly, I'd probably talk about it. I mean, obviously, when you first start a campaign, you should go over the rules. Like, I guess they consider it PvP, or player versus player. I would make sure that they know, like, is that acceptable to everyone? And most of the time, it's not acceptable to everyone because then you're holding up the story because you're throwing a little temper tantrum that someone stole the final kill. This isn't a video game where the final hit gets more experience. Yeah, you miss out on some of the glory, but I mean, who really cares about that? I guess some people do. I shouldn't say that, but I mean, you're a wizard. Wizards don't normally go for glory. I mean, you could still get the trophy. I mean, unless you and the fighter are fighting, or literally like fighting over trophies and stuff like that. But I mean, the game should be all in good fun, good sports. When you talk to everyone, you should make it clear like what it is that you guys all expect in this game. You should understand that if your player, or well, let's talk as if we're the player. I would want my DM to know like, hey, I'm a wizard and I am for the glory of battle. I'm a battle mage and I want to collect trophies. I mean, if both me and my party and the enemy that we're facing is really low on life, we should probably prioritize the survival of the team over getting the glory. That's how I would see it, and that's how I would try to speak with the player. Like, hey, everyone was dying or really close to dying. Let's focus on trying to get through this without a whole team dying. But I mean, if the player ends up casting some sort of area spell to kill everyone because he's throwing a temper tantrum, I would pause, rewind, and ask them, what's your deal? Are you actually going to do this? And then I would talk to the team like, hey, is this okay with you guys? And if it's not, then it's like, then you have an issue. And if there's a continued issue, then it's probably time to talk to the player one-on-one about if he's getting what he needs out of the game, and if not, then maybe tell him to move on to a different group. All right, let's go on to the next one. Alright, here we go. I'm in my first campaign and I'm really enjoying it. Everyone other than myself are excellent RPers and very good at getting into the mindset of their characters. I'm having trouble keeping up due to my ignorance of the world. I understand the importance of having a backstory and motives for your action, but in simple interactions throughout the game, I feel as though I come off as awkward or ignorant simply because I don't actually know the things my character should know. I don't want to hinder the group or lessen their experience with my lack of experience, but I don't know how to improve quickly enough. They're a very understanding group and don't make me feel awkward or anything, but I know the experience as a whole would be better for everyone if I don't hold them back. Any suggestions on how to improve my knowledge of the world without spoiling potential important parts of the campaign? Let's see here. First of all, some DMs don't go like full on crazy with the lore of the world. They have their players build it or discover it. You shouldn't feel, I don't know, you shouldn't feel like you're holding everyone back just because you don't know. What you should do is you should talk to your DM and see if your DM has notes that your character would know. Like say you're a rogue. Where does your rogue hail from? And what kind of connections would they have? What kind of like education do they have? Because take like us, us in the real world, for example. I'm alive in the real world and I only have so much knowledge of the world. And back then they didn't have, a lot of, I guess if you think of like Dungeons and Dragons as like medieval times, the information doesn't get spread very easily. So you may only know information about your area. You may not know a lot about the world. Or maybe your character, let's just say your character, for instance, is ignorant of the world. He or she only knows about this one thing. Like your dad was a butcher, and it's like all you know is like your small town, and you know stuff about farm animals, things that you eat, and you I don't know what you butcher, I guess. But basic thing you need to do is talk to your DM about this stuff. He should be able to give you some sort of hand. You said that they were already helpful and that they were understanding. So just talking to the DM would give your life such a big boost. Also, a big thing that I kind of picked up on is you're so afraid of holding everyone back. I bet you don't have much confidence in yourself, which is reflective onto your RPing. You gotta really think about your character. What kind of personality is their personality more like you? Is it more withheld and withdrawn, or is it more boisterous? Is it more like outgoing? Take chances. This is your first time playing Dungeons and Dragons, or I'm assuming maybe you've played more games, but take chances, be risky, have fun with it. If you really like the group and they seem really cool, they will totally enjoy and love that you're taking risks, you're jumping out there. Hell, even in character, you can ask questions. Like, say you come to a new town and you have no idea what's up with this town. Well, tell the DM you would like to gather information about the area. Who runs this place? What kind of... Is there criminal activity here if you're a rogue? Or what kind of guilds here? What kind of shops are here? Is there guilds here? I don't know if I said that or not. But yeah, just stuff like that. Hopefully that answered your question and it wasn't too horribly vague. Let's go on to the next question. Alright, how do I tell A DM, they're not doing a great job. Oh boy, here we go. My DM first drew me in as a player back in February to play in their 5e homebrew game. And being relatively new to D&D in general, I didn't see a lot of red flags. Oh, of course not, because you don't recognize what they would be. The DM wanted to have 11 players in their campaign, still relatively new to DMing himself. Oh, that's a huge red flag right there. But not like a personality flaw red flag, but like if he's new to DMing, he wants to have a big group, he wants to have a lot of friends, but he doesn't realize how time consuming things are going to be with 11 people playing the game. Trust me, I currently have a group of people, and it's quite the group of people. I believe it's like 7, and combat takes forever. Alright, I digress. They expected us to read up on pages of lore about their gods and whatnot. Fair enough. And ended up having the most seasoned players in our party leave their game permanently. Was this on purpose, or did they just leave? As I grew to research the game myself, I discovered I was really into it. So I joined a few one-shots and other campaigns, and even had a few people willing to join a campaign where I'd be the DM myself. See, I love this already. But through my research, I realized that I wasn't having fun in this original campaign. The DM would railroad us relentlessly through OP NPCs and DMPCs alike. Alright, I'm probably going to go off on a random tangent here, but DMPCs, I used to make so many DMPCs when I first started out. What a lot of people don't realize who don't play Dungeons and Dragons, or, well, I don't say that, who don't DM themselves. People who end up DMing, they still want to be part of the story. They still want to have their glory in combat. They still want to, basically, they still want to be a player, but they want to run a cool game. So unfortunately, they create these DMPCs, and they're so focused on building cool backstories, developing this character, that they more focus on the characters than the world building itself. And I am very much guilty of that. I was so focused on creating this cool, badass character that they became the focus point of the story and not the actual players themselves. And I found out later on that the players weren't enjoying that as much as I assumed that they would be, because I made Max the character who was overpowered, and one of the players was, just like a regular warrior, and they're like, what the heck? And I see a lot of DMs, newer DMs, less experienced, not realize that you're the DM, you're not a player anymore. You have stepped into a brand new role, and you need to worry about the game and not worry about making your own character. Like I said, it takes the focus off of the actual players. You need to focus on, these DMs need to focus on creating the story, building the world, figuring out what the players need to do, what they want to do, and what they have to do. If you're so worried about your own characters, what you're basically doing is reading off of a story that your players are sidelining, that they're watching happen in progress. So they're not really playing a game. They're listening to you just read a story about how cool your characters are. All right, let's see if I can actually finish reading this before I run off on another tangent. Now, I love this DM. They're a sweetheart, and I think they're a great person, but my god, this new game is even worse than the first one. They're making the same exact mistakes, the same exact ways. Third session, the DM tried to puppet an absent player's character who's chaotic neutral, to stop another player from stealing a notebook for 5 gold less than it was worth because it was the right thing to do. Any fights we have progress at the pace of a snail on a treadmill, and we gain 3 new DMPCs. See, this is what I'm talking about. This DM is more worried about playing his cool characters than creating cool stories for the players. And the snail pace is because he has a lot of people. If you have a lot of people, and most people don't have, or most players don't have the idea of what they're going to do next already set up in their mind. Some do, some don't, and then they have to sit there and tactfully figure out what they're going to do next, especially if they're magic casters. Where did I leave off? In the past session alone, all 3 DMPCs were just higher level versions of our characters. There was a session that touched on subject matter that made me feel very uncomfortable for a lot longer than it should have, but when I said as much, I was told to either leave the session entirely or sit through it. Okay. Now, I have an issue with that. It sounds like this DM's getting a little edgelordy. This guy wants to create this story, probably has a lot of depth to it, a lot of like real stuff like torture or, the sexual stuff. But it's getting into the realm of edgelordy. It's no longer fun for people because it's awkward, it's weird, especially if you didn't discuss it in 0 session. I want to drive home how important the 0 session is for starting a new campaign. Please talk to your players, talk to your DM, figure out what's going on, and if you're comfortable with this stuff. Already 4 sessions in, a couple other players have expressed their discomfort in private, but I'm pretty sure we're all too iffy about it to actually confront our DM again. Alright, so my advice is talk to the DM one last time. Really drive home the fact that not just you, but a large group of the players are uncomfortable with the subject matter, uncomfortable with his style. You need to make sure he understands. And if he's not understanding what's going on, it's like going over his head. It's going through one ear and out the other. Then it's time to leave. If it's too much of a hassle, if it's getting too weird, just leave. There's nothing wrong with leaving. There are plenty of times where I have been playing a game and people are driving me nuts. They weren't really making me uncomfortable, but the things that they were talking about were annoying and it was bothering me. So I told them, thanks for the games, but I have other things going on, and I guess I technically lied to them where I said, like, I can't commit to this right now or whatever. So I gave them some lame excuse and I bailed, but don't be like me. Actually say, like, hey, I'm not really cool with this. I'm gonna jump. I'm gonna skip out on this. Communication is such a huge key in everything. Not just in D&D, but in life in general. So, please just talk to people. It's cool. We're all here to play games. We're all here to have fun. Just talk to people, okay? It's not that hard. I know we're basement dwelling nerds, but we're all cool here. We all know why we're here. So let's have fun, guys. Let's have fun. All right, my little world builders, that will wrap up this episode. Thank you for stopping by. I hope this new DM questionnaire thing was entertaining in the least, maybe even educational. So, cool beans. See you next time.